What does it mean to have purpose in life? This is actually a really big and very important question, but to be honest, we're not usually asked it very much. Normally, what we usually get asked is, what do you want to be when you grow up? And even though this is a very well-intentioned question, it has a major problem, which is that the question mainly focuses on goals and the kind of orientation that you have toward what goals you want to have in your life. And it doesn't really focus all that much on the joy and what brings you joy in life. And in my mind, it is that is more important. We should be asking people what it is that they enjoy, since that, in my own experience, has proven to be the doorway to purpose. To put it into slightly different terms, there was an article that I saw by Psychology Today which talked about the difference between purpose with a capital P versus purpose with a lowercase p. And they basically described it and described that difference as big P purpose relating to big goals, accomplishments, achievements, visions, kind of the big ticket items that a person might want in their life. And they described little p purpose as more of the day-to-day items and activities that bring people joy or that they like to do. And I just wanted to talk a little bit about that distinction and how it has shown up in my life in the way that I play Minecraft and how that has evolved over the years of all things. The major observation that I actually wanted to talk about is that I've observed that my Minecraft playstyle actually changes to reflect a shift from that big P purpose perspective to the little p purpose over time. And that was very much coinciding with a shift in mindset that has happened in my life throughout my years, with the ultimate realization at this point that having a simple purpose in life is enough to be happy. So early on when I played Minecraft, I got into it when it was Xbox 360 edition, which was a long time ago. And one of the most important features of 360 edition that we don't really know a whole lot about anymore is that 360 edition had limited worlds. There was a limited size and limited resources that you had to work with. And when I first started playing Minecraft, I was very focused on making really big things, like mansions, game parks, making cities, communities, and all kinds of other crazy things that were super big. And because I was like a lot of people who were in the thrill of building lots of new things, I pursued these creations largely ignoring and not really thinking about the consequences of what would happen if I actually made these things. And that caused a lot of problems in some of my worlds. For example, I almost wiped out an entire species of tree. I wiped out villages just by staying there overnight and having the zombies kill the villagers and having creepers blow things up and different things like that. And I destroyed a lot of landscape as well, just trying to make room for the things that I wanted to build. And the main thing that kind of defined this period of my Minecraft playing was that I wanted to have a big impact, and I was focused on doing things that were very grand. My ideas were very big, but the worlds that I was building in were very small instead. And as life went on, my time got more scarce. I got very busy with things like college and classes and dealing with everything else that comes with life throughout that as you go through it, and I had a lot less time to play Minecraft. So I found myself getting a lot less industrial with the things that I wanted to build. And the interesting thing that happened in this time is I had a chance to go back and observe a lot of these old worlds that I had worked on a long time ago, and I had a chance to really see the state that I left them in, and I started to notice a lot of these problems that I'd created, which are the things that I had mentioned before. And I started to have this desire that I wanted to actually start to repair and restore these worlds and try to undo a lot of this damage and these problems that I had created. So I started spending time doing things like reforesting and repopulating villages and fortifying them and restoring the landscape, and essentially just trying to make the worlds a nicer place to be again. And that led more into and developed and further evolved into the current playstyle that I use, which is very much defined by much smaller scale projects. I like making cottages and watchtowers and doing different landscaping, with the big defining feature of it being that I'm very intentional with what I choose to build and what I choose to pursue, and I'm always thinking before I go and build anything. I'm thinking about the impact that my actions are going to have on that world. And at the forefront of my mind anymore is always that I want to be able to use my creativity to improve on what's already there and to be in harmony with it. And some different examples of that I've made more recently are things like planting crops in grasslands or making terraced plantations, adding new plants, trees, and flowers to areas that are already full of nature to make them prettier and more enjoyable, or even making bunkers that have very little above ground footprint so that I'm not disturbing the landscape as much. And ultimately what I'm looking to do is just to build a place that feels good to exist in, because ultimately that's enough for me. And this actually mirrored the progression of my mindset in life throughout the same time. More toward when I started to play Minecraft, I was back in middle school, high school, and early on in my life, and there I had very lofty goals about what I wanted to do when I was going through school. I was more of the classic overachiever type. I had high grades. I was inducted into honor societies and other things. I was getting lots of awards from academics and also just competition teams and things like that. And I started to see a gradual shift in that mindset when I went into college. When I went into college, I started it with much the same mindset that I had when I was in high school, and I started doing a lot of the same things. And the interesting thing was that I started to notice that as I got through each new achievement, it brought me less and less satisfaction, and it was more draining. And I also started to notice the physical toll that chasing those achievements had, both on me and also on other people that were in high-pressure project environments that I was part of. And the thing that I started to realize in this time is that chasing an achievement for its own sake cannot be the point. It will never be satisfying to get an achievement if the only reason that you pursued it in the first place is because you wanted the achievement. And when I started to realize that, there was a quote from the Arcane League of Legends show that I relate to a lot with this particular thing, and it's when Victor and Jace are sitting around and they are talking, and they have this moment of realization where they realize that they were pursuing this dream, but it got tainted, and Victor says something about, "In the pursuit of great, we forgot to do good." And that was something that really started to change a lot of my mindset about what I wanted to do in life. And when I framed things in that context of that quote and doing good versus great, I started to realize that all of the old goals that I had made for my life were based on chasing great. And I didn't really want that anymore, so I threw them all out and I started from scratch. I started looking at and paying attention to the things that I actually enjoy doing in my life, and I started to prioritize first and foremost that I wanted to do things that were going to do good, not necessarily great. There's nothing wrong with wanting to do great things, but the simple reality is that not everybody wants that, not everybody needs that, not everybody's here to do that. Some people even happen to stumble into great things after simply starting by trying to do something good. And in my mind, the danger of trying to set out to do something great is that it's very easy to justify more extreme action in order to get to that end and to ignore a lot of the consequences that might happen along the way. But as a result of some of these reflections that I have been doing in my life, I've started to realize that one of the things that I like doing is looking for life lessons in different things that might be able to help me and others, which is the whole reason that I am making this particular project right now. This is one way that I am choosing to try to do good or to follow that little p purpose in my life. And ultimately, the kind of conclusion of this little project and little script of mine is that having a simple purpose in life is enough to make you happy. You do not have to be somebody who is out trying to change the world in order to be happy, even though I know that's what a lot of us are taught to believe. And I would encourage everyone that may watch this to find their little p purpose in the things that they enjoy, and to prioritize doing good over trying to do great. Because I do genuinely believe that if everybody started with the goal and the intention to simply do good first, the world could become a much better place.